This is Jeremy, your average, everyday, fresh TF2 player. He just got his first desktop computer for Christmas, and he was ready to play some games. So he eagerly scrolled through Steam's free-to-play section to find Team Fortress 2. It's a game he's never played before, but one he's been following for years. So, clearly having nothing else to do, he downloads the game and gives it a try.
Let's do it!
And that's led him here, playing a match of Capture the Flag on 2 Fort. The chaos, the violence, the visual noise, it's nonsensical, it's insane, and it's what will have Jeremy hooked over the next several hours, eyes glued to the screen, sucked into the world of Team Fortress 2. Jeremy's story represents many other players' first experiences with the game, thrust into a match of Capture the Flag as their first impression of what TF2 is. This game mode has been the hook that's grabbed a large amount of TF2 players over its history and never let them go. Which is shocking because, by all accounts, it's a horribly designed game mode with a whole host of issues.
It is really subject to steamroll.
If you want to be able to see your wife or your kids,
it is very bad.
You're not going to finish the match. You gotta close the game.
Actually doing the objective is...
No, it's actually a dog game mode.
Trying to pull your teeth out, basically.
Games can end in 2 minutes, or games can last 2 hours because of an awful stalemate.
So why has it become so iconic and effective at enveloping players in the world of TF2? Well, today, I'm going to go answer that exact question. We're going to go through the history of the game mode, interview prominent TF2 players, and analyze its game design, all to figure out exactly what's made CTF capture the hearts of so many players over the years. Sit back, grab a snack, and join me for the ultimate deep dive into one of the most iconic game modes in gaming history. This is the untold story of TF2's Capture the Flag. When Jeremy enters his first game of CTF, the first thing he sees is the spawn room. As discussed in the payload video, the spawn room is typically a place of refuge and setup, as all the players on each team get together and hang out with their teammates. However, in CTF, things work a bit differently. One of the most well-known facts about Capture the Flag in TF2 is that once games get going, they never, ever end.
For 9 years, Capture the Flag and Payload Race have had their round timer entirely gutted, meaning there's no guaranteed end to any game until one team wins.
They can easily go on for over an hour at a time, without much effort on the TF2 players themselves. As such, players who join a game of Capture the Flag, whether it be through casual mode or a community server, are typically not going to join at the beginning of the match, so they likely won't be able to meet people and chill in the spawn room. Instead, players like Jeremy over here will likely be joining in the middle of the match, thrown into the action instantly with no chance to get acquainted with the environment or their teammates. As Jeremy walks out of the spawn doors, a thought suddenly dawns on him. What am I supposed to be doing? Help! The impatient teenager just so happened to spam through the wall of text that hits you when you first open the match, so he missed this blurb about how the game mode actually works and what the objective is. Luckily for him, TF2 is made so that players can get the goal of the game through visual design and context clues. Jeremy doesn't have to know what any of this UI stuff means, because the second he walks out of spawn, he gets auto-balanced to the other team. Well, regardless, Jeremy is now well aware that there's a blue team and a red team, and he's played Capture the Flag in his PE class at school, so he understands that the goal is to get to the other end of the map, find the flag, and bring it back to his base. He doesn't really know where it is, per se, but he'll figure that out on the way. He's playing Scout after all, the fastest character in the game, so this should be a piece of cake. So Jeremy runs out of spawn, and this may be more difficult than he thought. Unfortunately for Jeremy, he's currently running into one of Capture the Flag's main design flaws, which is the imbalance between defense and offense. What do you think is Capture the Flag's greatest weakness?
Probably the fact that scouts or really just anyone, but scouts in general can just immediately end the rounds if they cap 3 times and no one's really paying attention.
It's in a way actually similarly flawed to 5 control point, where 5 control point is subject to the same issues, where games can end in 2 minutes thanks to a significant enough skill discrepancy, or games can last 2 hours because of an awful stalemate.
The one person who wants to play the objective, they will go to the enemy's flag because no one will be watching it. And there's like 4 engineers there with the sentry base.
For people attempting to defend their flag, their job is usually brain dead easy. Select engineer, go to the spawn room, place a sentry, level it up, and boom, you've basically won capture the flag. Unlike other game modes where sentry spots are able to be easily flanked and infiltrated by spies and explosive classes, most CTF maps have their intel in an enclosed space far from the actual fight, making it incredibly difficult for the enemy team to mount a successful push against a sentry nest and get the enemy flag as long as there's at least one competent engineer on the other team. And that's not to mention the other problem, which is that it's immensely difficult to get to the flag in the first place, assuming the enemy team is actually playing the objective. It's so far away on most maps that only 2 of the 9 classes can realistically make a run for it, like you would in an IRL match of Capture the Flag, while every other class in the game would likely need assistance from their team to escort them all the way there and all the way back. In short, defense in CTF is incredibly easy, while offense is massively difficult by comparison. This is easily Capture the Flag's worst design flaw, and one Jeremy, along with many other players, have struggled with. The reality is, flag captures in Capture the Flag are rare. They aren't going to happen consistently throughout the game, and for some matches they may never happen at all.
You have complete autonomy to do whatever you want in the game, and that usually leads to a lot more funny community-esque interactions because no one's actually playing the game.
This has become something the game mode is known for. Long, drawn-out stalemates with neither team making any real progress.
It seems like Valve outright forgot CTF even existed while designing some of the game's post-launch unlocks. The god-awful Wrangler shield that gives sentries 600 health. The short circuit that deletes projectiles. Air blast countering soldiers. And the home wrecker have all made it even easier to turn intel rooms into impenetrable strongholds. All of these changes since the game's early years have turned infiltrating the intel on a sweaty server from a fun challenge to a cacophony of unintelligible bullshit that pubs sometimes just don't have the coordination to deal with.
This is Capture the Flag, and for now, Jeremy is not enjoying it. After all, he wants to win. Isn't that what playing games is for? As some red team mercenaries attempt to break into 2Fort's main lobby, Jeremy rounds the corner and sees a heavy valiantly defending his team's territory. Jeremy, without thinking, throws winning to the side for a moment and saves the heavy. They taunt next to each other to celebrate their kill, and instantly, a friendship has been formed. This interaction leaves something of a smile on Jeremy's face. It was so satisfying to just save one of his teammates from certain doom, and the Heavy was happy to receive the help. Unfortunately, the Heavy would immediately head out of the fort and instantly be gunned down. But such are things in the wild world of 2Fort. As Jeremy continues into the sewers, he runs into the second major problem with Capture the Flag, the oftentimes horrendous map design. What do you think is the greatest weakness of Capture the Flag?
It might actually just come down to map design.
What's that one map with is it Silo?
And how a lot of the maps have really, really unfortunate sniper sightlines.
Turbine. Fucking Turbine, dude.
And a lot of the intel rooms have awful sentry placements that no one likes taking out.
You load in a Turbine server, there's like 7 engineers in your team. They're all sitting in the fucking room.
It's somewhat map dependent. I think a lot of the older Capture the Flag maps are a bit more entertaining than newer ones tend to be. Newer ones tend to be really big and really open and spread players too thin.
And then the other team has the same thing, and then it's just sniper team deathmatch.
One they added just for the summer update, Pressure. It's just so massive, and it's this big spaghetti bowl. It spreads players too thin. It's just...
Do you have any more thoughts about Turbine that you'd like to share? These sewers are long, winding corridors beneath the map, perfect for snipers or projectile spam. They're also the only flank route in all of 2Fort. This is unfortunately a weirdly consistent part of Capture the Flag maps in TF2. They often have a severe lack of flank routes and alternate paths. 2-Fort, Turbine, Double Cross, and even CTF Well all suffer from having a wide open area in the middle that most players are funneled through, with maybe one alternative way to get to the flag from there. This problem also causes players to frequently have long, drawn-out stalemates in the middle of the map, while the one alternate flank route is constantly defended by a sniper or an engineer. Speaking of sniper, a lot of these CTF maps also suffer from the greatest affliction a TF2 map can have: long sightlines that cover most of the map. The effect of this is that there is always at least 2 snipers on both teams, constantly in a duel to see who can be the most annoying person in the entire lobby. This massive cluster of chaos was yet another obstacle preventing Jeremy from getting to the objective. The enemy team had set up camp in his own sewers, his side of the map, and there was nothing he could do about it. Eventually, after dying enough times, Jeremy was lost, defeated, and ready to stop playing TF2. But on his way out of spawn, for what he thought would be the final time, he saw the Heavy from before. His ally was, per usual, in way too deep over his head. Jeremy ran up to the Heavy and taunted, in an attempt to show his friendship. In response, the Heavy promptly ran into a soldier-medic combo and immediately exploded into a flurry of red paste. Jeremy was not having it.
That was all you! Incoming!
Safe once again, he was happy to help his fellow Heavy. It felt really good to stand by his fat Russian friend and beat back the bad guys. Wasn't Jeremy frustrated just a second ago? Why was he suddenly having so much fun? It's not like they were any closer to the flag, to winning. And isn't that what playing games is for? Suddenly, Jeremy realized that he had an opening, so now was his chance to help his team. And so, he left the Heavy and made a break for the enemy base. As he ran through the many corridors of 2-Fort, Jeremy wondered why this was suddenly so easy. The stalemate happening at mid was so violent and chaotic that he assumed he'd have to fight even harder to get to the actual flag in the enemy base. Yet, no one was really stopping him. Not even an engineer with a sentry to prevent him from running to the flag and grabbing it. He figured that people were just not paying attention enough to notice he was making a break for it. As he rounded the corner, he saw it. Not the flag, but the intelligence. You see, TF2's aesthetic is largely based off of 60s and 70s spy culture. Think James Bond or the Manchurian Candidate. So when Capture the Flag was implemented into TF2, it was designed around resembling a spy mission of espionage and infiltration. So the original Quake Team Fortress banner was replaced with a briefcase with vital intelligence inside. Well, at least that's what you'd think. Long after TF2's initial release, the contents of the briefcase would be retconned, from important military secrets to explicit pornography. TF2 is a strange game. Nevertheless, much of this visual storytelling went right over the head of Jeremy, who is currently laser focused on getting the first point of the game for his team. But as he grabbed the flag, he heard an announcer loudly say to every player in the lobby,
"Alert! The enemy has taken our intelligence."
Jeremy realized the danger he was in, so he booked it to the sewers. Unbeknownst to Jeremy, every single member of the red team was about to descend upon him all at once, because none of them wanted that flag captured. They wanted to continue playing the game for as long as possible, and didn't want to be thrown back into the dreaded casual queue, so they were going to stop him at all costs. But Jeremy knew that he was fast, and by the time the red team knew what was happening, he was already on his side of the map. But as he was running up the stairs, those long sightlines reared their ugly head one more time. All that work, all that effort, for nothing. As he sat spectating his own death, waiting to respawn, he thought to himself, why did any of that happen? It was so easy to walk past everyone and get into the base, so why was it so hard to get out? It didn't seem like his own team wanted to help him capture the flag. They were all still doing their own thing, fighting and dying over and over again on the bridge, explosive jumping everywhere. There were even people he ran past earlier who weren't playing the game at all. They were just dancing off to the side. Why? What was the point? He went all that distance to get the flag, and no one even cared. Why did his team seem so unaffected by everything? it was almost as if none of them wanted to win. But without winning, what was he supposed to do? Isn't that what playing games is for? TF2's Capture the Flag, after years and years of updates, has become a horribly designed game mode. With games devolving into either complete steamrolls or hour-long stalemates, and not much in between. Not to mention that this design flaw has been exacerbated through Valve's many changes to TF2 over the years.
CTF never felt like the most focused, objective-based game mode, but now capping on a CTF server basically just interrupts what everyone's been forced for 9 years to accept as a laid-back, endless meme lobby, and makes them sit through a farcical map vote as if anyone is ever going to vote for anything other than 2 Fort, and then a completely pointless loading screen and pre-round timer.
If there's a pretty significant skill discrepancy, the game's gonna be over in 2 minutes, and then the server resets and boots everyone out.
The majority of the maps are designed atrociously, and defense is as easy as hitting 6 on your keyboard at the start of the match. It's a brain-dead, horribly designed, no-thoughts, head-empty game mode. But paradoxically, that's what people love about it. Capture the Flag isn't good as a game mode in the same way that Payload or Attack Defend are. It's good in the way that Web Fishing, Club Penguin, or an old Minecraft server are, as a place for people to congregate, hang out, and make friends. Capture the Flag's design works perfectly as a playground, for people to hang out and enjoy the game in a low-stakes environment that teaches you the fundamentals of TF2's gameplay, world, and teamwork. It doesn't matter that the games never end, or that reaching the flag is often near impossible, because the objective of Capture the Flag isn't really the flag itself, but the gradual journey it takes to get there. In real life, Capture the Flag is a game that's flawed in many of the same ways as its TF2 counterpart. If you've ever played it, you know that puppy guarding is the dominant strategy, and that defending the flag is as easy as placing a wall of people in front of it and calling it a day. But the issue with that strategy, as dominant as it is that it is really, really boring. No one wants to venture out into 90-degree heat in the midst of a summer day to play a game of Capture the Flag that looks like this. Because this game has never been about winning. It's been about teamwork and having a good time with your friends. In TF2, it's the exact same way. The story of Capture the Flag isn't a driven, focused fight between red and blue, with constant progress toward a consistent goal. Instead, it's a series of vignettes, and smaller stories that players have between each other, talking in chat about whatever's happening in and out of the game, barely paying attention while you battle for hours on end with your comrades, not because you want to win, but because it's fun. And after all, isn't that what playing games is for? As Jeremy spawns back in, he sees his friend the Heavy, on the verge of jumping off the battlements to his almost certain death. He debates for a second whether he should keep playing or not. What's the point if his team isn't going to help him? But he knows that the Heavy is just going to get himself killed without his help, so he decides to stick by him for just a little while longer. 3 hours later. Any urge to capture the flag had completely left Jeremy's mind by this point. He was too busy double-teaming enemy mercenaries with his new friend. At one point, he was low on health, and the Heavy even threw some sort of sandwich item which healed him back to full. It was a kind gesture, and it felt like they were the perfect tag team, able to destroy anyone and everyone. Just the two of them. It was the most fun that he'd ever had playing a video game. He'd never felt such a connection with someone online like this before. It was special. As Jeremy thanked the Heavy for securing yet another kill with him, the Heavy said that it was time for him to head out. He said bye, and the Heavy disconnected. Jeremy wondered if he'd ever see him again. Right on cue, Jeremy received a Steam notification. The Heavy had sent him a friend request, so he had his answer. Now that he had had so much practice with his Heavy friend, Jeremy thought he could finally do what he had wanted to do all along: win the game. As Jeremy was making yet another attempt to infiltrate the enemy base, he was getting much further than he typically did. But as he entered the enemy's courtyard, there he was, the obstacle that obscured Jeremy's eyes from the prize. Fitzkrieg 77, the red team's engineer. Unlike Jeremy, Fitz had chosen Engineer as his first class, and as Jeremy and the Heavy were fighting and having a good time, Fitz had joined the game and built his little sentry nest on 2 Fort, as he had seen plenty of other people do in YouTube videos time and time again. But before he could get it to level 3, Jeremy and the Heavy just kept destroying it, over and over again ruining his precious work. But now that the Heavy was gone, Jeremy alone was no match for his mechanized might. Fitzkrieg was intent on never letting anyone get the intel, under any circumstances. Jeremy had no chance of competing. He was Scout, the class that Engineer was probably best at dealing with.
Every so often, there's just that one guy that's like, you know what? I'm going to go Scout and just win the game myself within 3 minutes. And then everyone just gets kind of annoyed because like, oh, well, I guess instead of exploring the map, someone's going to have to bunker down and go Engineer.
Every time he even sniffed the enemy courtyard, Fitz would be there with a sentry or a shotgun, ready to stuff his efforts in one foul swoop. Jeremy had found his antagonist, but he knew that Scout wasn't going to cut it. So Jeremy's eyes began to wander to the other offensive options he could use to capture the flag. Surely one of these classes would allow him to completely destroy the other team and win the game. One of Capture the Flag's biggest strengths, after all, is its ability to make all of the classes feel useful, and have a role that feels natural and organic.
I think it's a game mode where every class has its purpose, where you have offense classes going for intel, defense classes defending intel, and support classes either defending intel or infiltrating to go support the offense classes going to get the intel, that kind of thing.
Every class in the game has a different way of fulfilling their own unique role in the team fight, and Jeremy was going to find the perfect choice to best his newly found adversary. Soldier was the next logical choice, arguably the most versatile class in the game. In Capture the Flag, his use is mitigated somewhat due to his slow speed, especially in maps like 2 Fort or Turbine with low ceilings, but that's if you're playing the objective, which, as we've established, no one is. So Jeremy knew that he could use the soldier to put the enemy team in the meat grinder over and over again. He was actually doing really well in his first few lives as soldier, and he found it easy to push further into the enemy team's base by himself. But, unlike Scout, Soldier was slow. Genuinely too slow for Jeremy to enjoy. Soldier's walking speed is one of the slowest in the game, which Jeremy wasn't accustomed to after playing Scout. Not to mention, the verticality of a lot of CTF maps incentivizes the explosive classes to blast jump, and Jeremy had no idea how to do any of that. So there was little chance he was going to be able to win the game all by himself, and he had realized that no one else in the lobby was interested in helping.
No one's gonna help you go and fight the sentries. If you are typing in the chat like, guys, come on, we gotta take this, you're gonna get like, dude, it's 2 Fort, like, shut up, and you're gonna get like boat kicked or something.
Yeah. Next was Pyro. Now this was something Jeremy could get behind. A character that required absolutely zero aiming ability. Just hold left click and kill people. Now this was something Jeremy was good at. The problem with Pyro in CTF is that, unlike his role in most other game modes, she's best played more defensively. Due to the lack of solid flank routes in most CTF maps, as well as Pyro's relatively slow walking speed, it's hard for them to close the distance and make an offensive push toward the other team without getting mowed down. The Pyro is often forced to either stay with his team for a push, or play defensive with the engineers at the base, fending off incoming spies and scouts from the intel. These roles, while fun and very dynamic with a few of Pyro's unlocks, aren't very conducive to Jeremy's adrenaline-addled, objective-focused win-now mentality. He wanted a class that could help him win against Fitzkrieg. He wanted to see that Texan's Gibbs all over the walls of the red team's base. And every time he even sniffed that sentry, it was lights out for the Pyro. Next up was Demoman, the class that Jeremy had died to the most since he started playing TF2. It's like Soldier, but with more options, right? As he started to play Demoman, he immediately understood why so many people were playing this class on the other team. He was broken. Well, not actually. Demoman has a slew of exploitable weaknesses that different classes can take advantage of. But for Jeremy, the fresh install, Demoman was a gift from God. It was so easy to just place sticky bombs on the bridge or near the enemy base's entrances, and then just watch enemies run into them and die. He was even getting good enough to start baiting enemies into his traps. It was fun, even if he wasn't making all that much progress toward the objective. You see, Demoman is already an incredibly versatile class in more balanced game modes of TF2, being able to excel both offensively and defensively while providing constant area coverage for his team. He's incredibly powerful, but he could be a little hard for new players to get the hang of, and he's often overwhelmed by the faster classes who will swarm a badly positioned Demoman near instantly in a game mode like Payload. However, in Capture the Flag, many of these issues are negated severely. Because of how easy it is to defend the objective, Demoman as a whole is buffed by CTF. The intelligence isn't a moving objective like the Payload cart, and it doesn't have a significant amount of flanks to defend like a King of the Hill point. This design causes players to all funnel through very specific areas in mass groups, which is the ideal situation for Demoman to perform well on. But even though he was excellent at dealing with a lot of other classes, his roadblock, once again, was Fitzkrieg, who'd regularly rush down Jeremy with his shotgun and pistol. Jeremy knew that Demoman was close to the answer. He knew that if Fitz was distracted enough, he could take his sentry from a distance. But for now, with his current skill level, it just wasn't happening. He had to move on to someone else. He briefly tried Medic, but he quickly got bored when he realized that he couldn't effectively kill anyone by himself. Medic in CTF is a character whose role is largely de-emphasized. In other game modes, he's at his best when he's helping his team capture the objective, using Uber as the fundamental push-pull for his team and helping them break the enemy's defenses. When no one is playing the objective, this role obviously becomes less important. Without an objective to keep the stakes high, the cost of dying becomes next to nothing. People aren't really in constant need for heals when losing health doesn't cost them much of anything. As such, the medic's role is often just to help his teammates do stupid stuff, pulling off insane kills that wouldn't be possible without the extra overheal. When Jeremy played medic, all he was doing was helping other people get kills, and helping his teammates who were actively avoiding the objective wasn't really something he found much enjoyment in. Not to mention that it got him no closer to Fitzkrieg. Staring once more at the class selection screen, he considered his options. He could try going heavy, but he had already seen from playing with his heavy friend that he was way too slow to do any capping without help from an Uber push. Engineer was too defensive to help with capping, and he didn't want to stoop to the same level as Fitz. That left two classes in particular that Jeremy thought might help him in his rivalry against Fitz. Switching to Sniper, he instantly understood why this class was so widely used in Capture the Flag. He could kill any class in an instant from anywhere on the map. No wonder so many snipers had stacked themselves on the battlements like a pack of hyenas hungry for a meal. This class was absolutely ridiculous. It was blatantly obvious why so many people enjoyed this character, but he wasn't really Jeremy's speed. It's not like playing Sniper was really accomplishing anything. He could probably zone out for hours and just shoot people's heads, but the reality is that all he was doing was preventing people from playing the game, which in turn prevented his own team from playing the game, and overall just created less action on the bridge of Two-Fort, and less fun for everyone involved. Jeremy felt like he was ruining the fun for everyone else, and not really gaining anything from it for himself. He thought he might be able to somehow fire at Fitz's sentry from a distance, but unfortunately for him, there was just no way to be far enough to hit the sentry without instantly being swarmed by the enemy team. Frankly, it was a really short-sighted idea. But Jeremy knew that he had saved the best for last, as he switched to the class that he watched kill his heavy friend the most when they'd play together. The class that would finally allow him to win against Fitzkrieg. Spy is the only class other than Scout whose design makes him excellent at blitzing the flag and trying to take it. Being able to go invisible and disguise oneself made him the ideal choice to attempt to make a run for it, not to mention that he was one of Engineer's main counters. He'd be able to use his sapper to take down Fitzkrieg once and for all, and then make a break for the intel while everyone else was distracted. He was going to beat Fitzkrieg once and for all. He had done it. He had taken out his rival. It was time for Jeremy to get to the intel room, and finally, at last, capture the... Jeremy had had enough. He was done trying to beat back the red team. He knew that any chance he had to take down the enemy was over. You've basically won Capture the Flag. Jeremy was defeated. Instead of beating them, he would join them. Playing Engineer in CTF wasn't hard. It wasn't fun. It wasn't even all that helpful, but it was victory. If Jeremy couldn't win, he'd make sure no one would ever capture the flag again. Hey, is that Fitzkrieg? Unbeknownst to Jeremy, Fitz was auto-balanced to the blue team shortly after they fought, just as Jeremy had been earlier that same match. Now they were no longer rivals. They were teammates, and they had both decided to puppy guard the flag, in the intel room, by themselves. Jeremy thought about his rivalry with Fitz, his determination to win, his ever-present desire to capture the flag. And he realized none of that was nearly as fun as the time he spent with the Heavy. Weirdly enough, the most fun he had in Capture the Flag was when he was avoiding the flag at all costs. Just hanging out with his new friend and trying to find the stupidest ways to kill the enemy team. That was fun. Running his head at a brick wall and trying to beat this engineer wasn't fun at all. And as Jeremy watched his former rival build a sentry nest in the intel room, he realized that the most fun he had wasn't because of the game itself. It was because of the people that he played with. As Jeremy thought back to his Heavy friend, he knew what would bring Fitz the most joy. So he put down his weapons, and he gave his former rival the friend that he wished was still here. This is what Capture the Flag is. It's not a game mode about two teams fighting for dominance to see who's better. It's not competitive, it's not serious. It's a game mode about friendships and rivalries. A game mode where lifelong connections are made between players, where memories are made.
The first ever friend I ever made on Steam, ever, was a guy that I met on 24/7 2Fort, and it was just a guy, me and him, chilling, building sentries and spawn, not doing anything at all, and because we weren't doing anything, we just talked and chat.
The experience I've had, and that I'm sure all the other 2Fort lovers have had, is enjoying a match where you make a personal nemesis of someone on the other team and spend a ton of time going back and forth targeting each other, either dueling or just seeing who leaves the game first.
For the first, I don't know how much exactly, but at least several hundred hours, I played exclusively on 2Fort. You know, my first learning experiences with TF2 were through 2Fort.
And we talked about our favorite YouTubers. We were both into like top 10 gaming videos at the time. And the first comment ever left on my profile is made by him. And I still remember him. And we're still friends to this day.
Truthfully, CTF is the DNA TF2 was born of. And you're really not a TF2 player if you haven't played and enjoyed Capture the Flag.
You join a CTF server on 2Fort. You have like 4 snipers in the same spot that everyone always is. The stupid upper bit with the snipers. And then meanwhile, like, this dumbass Heavy is riding a go-kart across the bridge. It's very Team Fortress 2, I think.
I have an old replay, like, posted on YouTube I could show you from like 2011 from me on 2Fort.
Oh, really?
You want to see that?
I would love to see that. That sounds awesome.
Gotta look at little newbie me.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. This game mode represents the essence of Team Fortress 2. The way the game's characters, gameplay, and atmosphere cause players to interact with one another is, in my opinion, the best part about the game. A relic of a bygone era where online games weren't for competition, but for connection. The story of Capture the Flag in TF2 isn't one written by the developers through lore or cutscenes or anything like that. It's a story written in every match by the players themselves. Rivalries, arcs, battles, friendships, all constructed in the chaotic battlefield of Capture the Flag. A mode that might be designed badly for competition, but one that's perfectly designed for connection. Because winning isn't always the reason why we play games. Sometimes a good game is about having a good time with some good friends. Because a memory captured is more important than any flag could ever be. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe, like, and comment below. It's the most helpful thing you guys can do to help this video get shown to as many people as possible. This was a massive undertaking, and I definitely want to do more videos like this if you guys want to see it. Thank you to everyone who helped me with working on this video. You guys all did a wonderful job, so thank you so much. And thank you, dear viewer, for watching this all the way through. It truly means the world. Anyways, see you all next time. Same place, same time, and as always, stay tuned and stay lucid. Bye-bye.